We should all be lamenting the state of Australian education. We've talked about that before on the show. Our kids are fed a steady diet of political tripe, and they're brainwashed with the latest woke nonsense, gender bending, historical revisionism, racist, anti-racist bunkum, all while their literacy and numeracy standards are actually going backwards. I've got to say, I've heard every excuse under the sun for this. Teachers don't get paid enough, for example, or why do kids need to learn facts when they've actually got Google? Times tables are redundant. Nobody uses handwriting anymore, so why bother practicing it? The list of excuses is as long as my arm, but it might also have something to do with this kind of nonsense. On Friday, thousands of students across this country skipped school to strike for climate action, and they were backed in by a sick note signed by climate doctors. Have you ever heard such rubbish? This is on top of a push to have a 4-day teaching week in some schools. And frankly, from my point of view, it all amounts to a disaster in our kids' education. And one has to ask, where are the voices standing against this nonsense? The education and teachers' unions all seem to support this propaganda, and dumbing down of our student cohort, it seems inevitable. Well, not every organisation does, because I discovered a non-Labor affiliated teachers' union is prepared to speak up for normality. That's the Teachers Professional Association of Queensland. I'm delighted to say I'm joined now by their president, Scott Stanford. Scott, thank you for joining me on Bernardi. What is the Teachers Professional Association of Queensland, and how is it different from other unions?
Thanks, Corey. Yes, look, we're an association that's now Australia-wide. Our constitution says that we are not to affiliate or give any donations to any political party. So we base our philosophy on putting teachers back in charge of education. Let's cut the bureaucrats out. Bureaucrats in Queensland alone have doubled over the current government and the previous government. It's time to cut that bureaucrat level down and put that funding back into education. But the important thing is, let's let the teachers and the parents come together and form boards that can run schools locally and give the parents and the students what they need.
Well, that's absolutely right, and I'm sure it's music to the ears of parents, but I had a look at your website. Joining your union, and I hope I'm right in calling it a union, it's cheaper for the teachers, it seems more effective, and as you pointed out, it casts aside the woke political activism that's actually destroying our education system. So are members beating a path to your door, or are you still battling the entrenched incumbency of the existing education union?
Yeah, that's a good point. We do call ourselves a union, except in Queensland where they've passed a law saying we can't call ourselves a union to try and stop us. Look, our membership's grown, almost doubled in the last 12 months, but we are definitely fighting that entrenched from the QTU or the AEU who, say we're not a real union, we can't support members. Look, we disregard all that stuff. If a member wants us to come and help them, we are there for them. Now, the reason why our fees are so low is because the other unions are affiliated with the Council of Trade Unions and have to pay funds to them every year. As I said, our constitution says we will never give money to any political party, so we pass those savings on to our members.
Well, Scott, this is a direct challenge to the existing union movement, who have a very powerful sway, because if you're successful in this space, I imagine many other non-Labor affiliated unions and employee organisations will spring up to offer people the support that they need in times of difficulty with their employment. What has been the reaction from the militant Labor unions to the growing influence of your organisation?
Look, as I said, in Queensland, they passed a law a little under 12 months ago to try and outlaw us. But again, it wasn't done properly. So we can still exist, and we still are existing. They come out on Facebook every day and they say that we're not doing anything. We talk about going on media shows such as this and in the paper, and we with our point of view forward, and they come out and they slander us and say, we're not a union, we can't help you. So they're never going to go away. But by the same token, we're never going to go away either. We believe in looking after our students, and especially our teachers, and making sure that they're there in front of the classroom to do what they're supposed to do, not do the bureaucratic paperwork that is growing and growing every day.
Yeah, the paperwork's one thing, and we do hear that a lot from teachers who say it's overwhelming them. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on in our schools that really shouldn't be there, in my view. How does your organisation and membership respond to activism like the climate strike on Friday? I mean, just from my point of view, doesn't letting children opt out of school with a bogus sick note from a climate doctor send the wrong message entirely about truth and accountability?
Absolutely it does. Students should be in school. If they're 18 or over and they're able to protest, be my guest. Or on Saturdays and Sundays when they're not at school, be my guest. But students should be in school learning. And the other unions that come out and support this climate activism on Friday, it's the same as supporting The Voice. They're not asking their members what they want, they're just wasting their members' money. Students need to be in class in front of professional teachers learning, as you said before, the basics, reading, writing and arithmetic. It was good for you, it was good for me. Why are we changing that now? We're dumbing down our curriculum and it's not good enough.
Yeah, how much pressure is there on teachers within the school system to comply with the climate change, the voice support and all of those sorts of things? And what actually happens if one of your members said, no, I don't want to go down this path and I don't want to be teaching this nonsense. I want to teach them their times tables and their English literacy?
Look, they do get in trouble, and we do support a few of our members who have actually stood up. But look, a lot of them are scared at the moment in the fact that they're being told what they teach and basically how to teach it. So it's like, we're dumbing down the curriculum in the universities. We need to put our teachers back in front of classrooms to learn how to teach. I think the universities is the first mistake. So let's make it back into the profession that it is. But they stand up, they come to us, we're getting more and more members. Every time the other unions come out and say, oh, we're for The Voice or we're for the climate change things, many of their members are getting fed up with it and coming across to us.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting idea, a union that's actually for the teachers, for the students and for the parents and for education. It makes a nice change. Scott Stanford, more strength to your arm, and thank you for joining me on Bernardi tonight.